All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to J and J's Next Play. As always, I got my co-host with me here, Juan. And for today's episode is a very special episode. We just started the new year, and for those of you, unless you live under a rock, how did we start the new year? With a banger. One of the best shows, in my opinion, ever, Stranger Things, ended. However, this show ended with a lot of controversy because it has the Twitter world, the entire world divided in half. Some people, like my boy Juan, thinks that the show ended amazingly, whereas our special guest today, Brian,
There he
doesn't
is.
believe that the show ended on a very high term. So, what I'm gonna be doing here is, which full disclaimer alert here, if you have not seen the last season or you have not seen the finale to the show, please save this video for some other time and watch another day because we are going to be talking about full-on spoilers. We're going to go into a deep dive into the show. So please save this video for later because we are going to be spoiling for you. Now, if you have watched it and you want to join us on this journey, I'm going to be playing kind of like the role of Mike in the show. I'm going to be the storyteller. I'm going to be trying to, you know, grasp the debate between Brian and Juan, and then towards the end of it, I will then give my personal opinion, my personal feel about the episode. But this right now is going to be kind of like a debate where Juan is going to be debating why the show ended good, well, then we have Brian over here who's going to be debating as to why the show ended bad. So, I'm gonna start, I'm gonna kind of direct you guys, and we're gonna start very simple. Let's start with volume one. How do you guys both feel about volume one, the first four episodes?
We're
Juan,
basing
take the
this
floor.
off based off. We're basing. Well, no. First of all, before I get going, like I'm glad to finally have this guy in front of my face right now, although it's virtually right now, because the atrocity that I've heard from this guy, I couldn't believe it myself, and I need this guy to say it live because
I'll
we
say
are
it live.
live right now. So. And second, what up, y'all? We are back, boy. It's been a minute. It's been some time. The new year has passed. Christmas time has passed. Hope y'all had a great time. But guess what? We back at it. And we're gonna have future episodes to discuss some things that might have just happened. Might have just happened over the new year with the J and J podcast. But nonetheless, let's not take our attention away from this suspect that I have on my left side that he's decided to join us tonight, which, by the way, I'm going to be courteous enough to welcome him on our podcast here. But anyway, Volume 1. So, based off the last season, Volume 1. Number 1, I'm sorry, Julio, but I'm just taking over. I'm taking over. I've had enough. I've had enough, and especially after what I've had to hear from this guy himself on my left. It's such an atrocity. The show ended the way it needed to end. It is the perfect ending. All right? And I know Brian has a point, which I'm going to wait till he mentions it. Because that's when I'm going to throw in my Uno reverse card that I have ready for him. And I really want to see what he's going to have to backfire to me. But I think overall, I think the brothers did a great job, not just in Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. I think overall, the last season was just a masterpiece. It was pure cinema. There's certain points that I know Brian's going to mention, which I'm going to give him the honor of mentioning. I don't want to take his points. And there's one, maybe one. I'm only giving Brian one. There's only maybe one that I agree slightly on, just slightly on, but I think they did a great job. I think they did a great job, and I'm satisfied with the ending. And I really want Brian to elaborate on his points, because that's where I'm just going to jab at him.
So when you say that you were a fan the way it ended, you're just gonna talk about everything, like all the entire season five.
Overall, yeah. Overall, I'm very satisfied with how the last season was carried out. I think they did. It's just again like when you view it from a cinematic standpoint and from a storytelling standpoint, I personally think there wasn't anything to change about it. Like it was beautiful. And going it just again it just makes it even sweeter on the last episode, which I know Julio and I spoke on this a lot, especially when I finished it because newsflash, I was the last one that finished it. Sorry, I was on vacation, guys. But but he
Josh
had
was
finished
also.
it. Brian had
That's
finished
only.
it. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that, by the way. I didn't hear that. So you're getting lucky right now that I'm not hearing that. But I was the last one to finish it. And once I finished it, my words were wow. Like I literally
All right,
text.
so wait. Before you go into more detail, so there you go, folks. Juan believes that the show ended beautifully. It was a masterpiece. Now I'm gonna give you a little piece of how the Twitter world is right now. Brian, what was your take on the
So,
series finale and on the last season of Stranger Things?
so the last season completely wasn't as bad. Like the first volume, with the first chapter was a good chapter. It really opened up, I think, everybody's eyes to everything and really explained how everything is. The second volume is like, oh, okay, they're getting a little bit lazy, in my opinion. They, there's some certain scenes I'm not gonna mention it, but there's some certain scenes like it makes no reason to add to the plot.
No, we can talk about it, Brian. This is what we're here to
We'll
discuss.
add it on later. We'll add it on later.
All right, all right.
Now the last episode, there's no way that they defeated that big ass monster in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, no casualties.
Hold on. Before
No
we,
casualties. No
before
casualties. One.
yes, okay. So I'm glad you mentioned that. But before you mentioned that, I was actually talking to Julio that the big monster that you're talking about actually reminded me of the video game that we played from the infamous clip of what I said. No, no se cansa, dog. Toma agua, dog.
So what Juan is referencing here, and I'm gonna see if I can pull up the clip. So when the game Helldivers came out, it was me, Brian, and Juan playing, Helldivers. And if anybody's ever played it, you're in a planet where you have to go against these aliens, and as you progress in the game, the harder the aliens get. And one of the aliens is a big cockroach, spider-looking dude that was impossible to kill, which reminded Juan here of the Mind Flare. And in that infamous clip, Juan is just running laps and running laps and running laps, and the guy's on him constantly. And Juan said the famous line. Juan, can you say it?
Yo, dog. El tipo no se cansa, dog. Toma agua, dog.
Guys, you have to understand, like, this is a funny moment we talk about
It was
nonstop
one
because
something in the morning, and we're like in round 40 something, bro. And that game just doesn't end.
Brian, if you find the video, send it to me on Discord so that I can
got you.
share it so everybody can see it. But
What?
in other words, so we're gonna go back to Stranger Things now. So again, the Twitter world is just split, and then I'm gonna kind of go very quickly. Talk a little bit about the volumes. We're gonna talk about the one part where Brian finds a little controversial, and then we're gonna talk series finale, show in general, and whatnot. Pretty much volume one starts off the same way the season four ended. Max is in a coma. Dustin's going through it because Eddie Munson, obviously passed away. Newsflash: Twitter was begging for 3 years that Eddie Munson was still alive and some sort of vampire slayer. That didn't happen. And it kind of shows the group kind of like falling apart. We then see that Robin took over a radio station and is giving out clues to the crew. The crew does like these recon missions. We're going to the upside down world. We discover there's a whole military base. We then see how kind of like the group is trying to, I guess, plot their next attack. Vecna hasn't been seen in a while. It's a lot of hype, a lot of constant movement. You then see Holly. Holly's talking to a nobody. We then come find out that Vecna is starting his little master plan where he's gonna abduct the kids and kind of do what he did with Will, but in a bigger scale. And pretty much how does Volume 4 end? The Demogorgons were gonna kill pretty much 3 of the main characters, and that's we all discover that Will the Sorcerer from Dungeons and Dragons was able to channel some of Vecna's powers, which I honestly believe that was probably the highlight of Volume 1, when you see, that this guy's eyes turn white and he pretty much saved, it was Robin, Mike, and Lucas from a Demogorgon attack. And again, I'm going at a really fast pace here. I don't want to, go over in detail completely about the whole episodes, but it felt like Volume 1 was very, very fast paced, very good, very, I believe that we all both agree on that, right? Volume 1 was what we expected out of Stranger Things. Volume 2 comes. And then from what I've been seeing on Twitter, and then this is where Juan and Brian, you let me know where you guys feel different. When Volume 2 began, a lot of people felt like it was going at a very slow pace. It felt like it was holding back. They were going into a lot of detail on, maybe on some characters that maybe didn't deserve the screen time. Um, Certain highlights, did happen. And again, if you haven't watched the last season yet, please, save this video for later. Max obviously comes out of the coma. You have Nancy Wheeler, no, not Nancy Wheeler, Nancy Wheeler's mom, who pretty much, saved them in the laundry room, where again it was kind of like a reference to Jurassic Park. Volume two felt kind of slow, still kind of good. Then we're gonna step into the first, I guess, criticism the show got, which episode 7, unless you guys are aware, is the lowest rated episode in the show's history, as a 5.5 right now. And the reason for that is Will Byers. So Will Byers decided to take up about 7 minutes of that episode to tell the whole world that he doesn't like girls. So how do you guys feel about that episode and in that precise moment? Do you feel like it was necessary? Do you feel like it damaged the show? Tell me. For one, let's start with you. How did you, I guess, interpret that episode when that happened?
So, um, again, funny enough, we were just talking about it when I had finished the show. But I will say one thing that I'm glad, I guess, in a way, the show did not, I guess, go full heel on, as far as when they produced that episode, was taking it a step further. And what I mean by that is, like, yeah, he came out, he let them know basically that he doesn't like girls, X, Y, and Z. We know it. We watched the episode. The rest is history, right? But a lot of shows will do that, and then they'll take it a step further. And I'm not gonna sit here and describe what a step further looks like, because I'm not here to, sit and talk about that type of stuff. But you guys get the hint, right? They could have done that. They could have. One thing that I can say about Stranger Things as a show is that they've stood very firmly on their foundational principles. Whatever they've had planned, as long as they've had it planned for, the story was the story the entire time. Like, they weren't gonna. Maybe they did small tweaks here and then, but really small, because I mean, like Julio and I were talking about the other day, we've done the digging behind the scenes, and a lot of things were not tweaked. A lot of things were already on script, ready to happen, and if anything had to change along the way for whatever reason, if it had to change, again, small tweaks, nothing major. So this was planned. This was already gonna happen. Um, and it kind of, like, we're talking about the character Will, and obviously, if you know anything about Will, and if you follow him as a fan, or as a fan of the show in general, he did come out in real life. He's openly gay. It is what it is. Like, that's who he is. That's his persona. So, and that's where, again, like, I'm a fan of storytelling, and I'm a fan of, like, the whole cinema, the directing, like, all that, right? So it's like I was telling Julio, I have the feeling, we got to keep in mind, all these actors started in this show when they were like 10, 11 years old. They were all kids, Will included. For a kid, and any of us, to be honest, forget about what he revealed. Like, just think about yourself as a human being. We all go through different challenges. We all go through different adversities in our life, and all of us end up finding a way, or somehow at some point, to prevail through those type of battles, right? And how you get through that is your story, and what makes your story special. So where I'm going with this is, I have a feeling that this crew was such a tight knit crew, and the brothers had the courtesy, I would say, and the kindness to have all these conversations with Will. Again, Will grew up doing this show. This kid was 10, 11 years old filming season 1. So I have a reason to believe that he already knew, number one, that he was gay, and number two, that it's something that he struggled probably growing up, and growing up in the world of Hollywood, of all worlds.
Right, and then to kind of add to that, in the time frame that Stranger Things is happening, which is in the 80s, it wasn't easy for someone of Will's, like, nature to pretty much come out, and I guess they wanted to emphasize that in the show, where, like, someone like him, went through a struggle to, like, tell their close people on how they really feel.
Correct.
Which, again, cool. They added it to the show. I will be sharing later how I feel about that, but I know, you make some, good couple points. One, Brian, how did you feel about that?
For the most part, this is the one common ground me and Juan have. I agree with everything he said about that episode. Now, do I think it was pivotal to make that scene as long as it was? No.
No, no.
And I get where you're coming from because he does mention in that episode where it's like, oh, I need to tell you guys something because it's gonna help us defeat Vecna. Dude, I'm sorry, it does not help you defeat Vecna.
There's no plot in there.
Right. Yeah, I agree on that.
But okay, so for the most part, we're saying volume 1 and volume 2 is good.
Yes.
Now let's get into the nitty gritty. The series finale. Brian, I want you to say everything you told me when you called me on what you
And
thought
say it with
about
your
the series
chest.
finale.
Don't get nervous because I'm here
Because
now.
Juan did not hear it. Obviously, I heard it. I gave you my 10 cents. Again, I will be sharing my 10 cents on the whole show in general and how I feel about the series finale. But Brian, how did you feel about the series finale?
So before we even start, Julio, I called you and I told you the rating on it was a 4 out of 10. It sucked in my opinion. Now, is it me being selfish? 100%. It's
You're
but
hurt. You're hurt just like Mike. Say it. Say it.
I am. Trust me, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it.
Hey man, let the man talk, Juan.
Look, that mind flare being defeated in 10 minutes, there's no way, in my opinion. Where did the bats go? There's not a single bat. They're all on vacation. What? They're sleeping over there. They went to sleep. The Demogorgons, the Demo Dogs. They went on vacation too. They went to Cancun.
I'll be talking about a theory about that later, but proceed.
And it's just like discrepancies, like in the episode where Nance, what's his name, the Wheeler mom, went into the hospital. She was bedridden, and she somehow managed to rig a washing machine to explode. Right? Now another part is when Lucas was playing with the radio. How did the Demogorgon not hear that? Demogorgon did not hear that whatsoever. There's some discrepancies.
You're getting a little nitpicky, but I'm gonna keep letting you go.
Oh, I am getting nitpicky because
Let him cook.
if it's supposed to be the perfect ending, it has to be perfect. It cannot be. There can be discrepancies, in my opinion. And I think they've left some things open. 11 died at the end. Juan, we're not discussing this.
Hold on. Am I allowed to throw my card here? Cause this is the one line I was waiting from this gentleman.
All right, Brian, hold your thought. Juan, what's the card you have?
All right, so the reason why and it's funny enough because it literally popped into my head yesterday, and I was like, bro, I cannot wait till we record this because when I mention what I'm about to mention, I want to hear his feedback and how he sees it to kind of see if it makes sense. I guess I don't know. So my Uno reverse card is being used here, and it's gonna be thrown, okay? And all right, so if you watch the episode and the ending, yes, like 11 basically comes to the conclusion, hint, because she meets her sister does come back in the picture. By the way, whoever doesn't know, again, don't watch this if you haven't watched it. If you watch this, you're basically gonna get the spoilers, right? Her sister comes back. Her sister reveals to her basically a different game plan, not the game plan that Hopper had for 11 the entire time. We obviously know that Hopper's overprotective. 11, he looks at her as his own daughter. X and Y and Z, right? Now, the sister comes back into the picture, and there's multiple scenes where she's trying to talk to 11, but she finally gets in 11's mind. When the screen turns black, they're in the water puddles, all the other stuff, right? When they're in that scene, they speak in a very detailed manner, and the sister tells 11, hey, you gotta come to the conclusion that the only way this is gonna end is without you in the picture. You have to leave. Right? Whatever happens, you can't continue to keep going because the military is gonna continue coming after you until they get your blood, because your blood is the only one compatible or close enough to create anything close to you or even Henry Vecna, aka. We know that, right? Okay. So here's where my Uno reverse card comes into the play, right? As Brian said, he is one of the believers As there is more Bryans out there, by the way. I'm not nitpicking, and I'm not picking on Brian here. All right, but there is more people like Brian out there that are sold that 11 died, that 11 se fue del parque. It doesn't exist no more. Right? That is what a lot of people are on. But here's what I started thinking about, and the reason why I think it gives even more credibility to the theory, because at the end of the day, all these are theories. You know, Brian has his opinion, I have my opinion. Everyone has their own opinion, X and Y and Z. That was one of the key points of how the brothers did this last season to close it out. But what I'm about to say is,
Acá
11
sos el uno reverse, dog. Vamos, dog.
Hey, leave me alone, dog. We're only on 20 minutes, dog. We're here to talk, right? We're here to chit chat.
Quiero alterar a la gente,
All
dog.
right, here it is. Here it is. The sister. So 11. They show, and this is facts. You could go watch the last episode. In the last episode, they show 11 in a different universe, still alive, walking where the three waterfalls are, in the magical place basically that Mike and her agreed on, right? Where I'm going with this is 11's sister used the same tactic that 11 used at the end. And 11's sister was alive the entire time. She didn't die until she got shot. Where I'm going with this is the following. Pay attention. When she escaped the laboratory, she used the tactic that she used to basically make herself an illusion, as if she was still there. But she was not there the entire time. Yet, she was alive, Brian. She was alive the entire time. That's how she eventually led to being with 11 and the rest. Everybody saw her in physical form, the flesh. She was there. She was alive. So what's to say that 11 is not alive? She used the tactic. And if you paid attention to the details, I'm going to steal this one from Julio. Sorry, we got ahead ourselves over here. If you pay attention to the details in the last episode, when 11 is there floating in the air, the tattoo isn't on her finger.
Hey, man. That's not cool. That's not her finger
cool.
forearm.
The tattoo is not on her finger. Meaning
All right, that's it.
Man,
Hold
no, come on, don't steal my thunder, dog. Let me finish here.
Hold on.
God, hey, y'all were here as witnesses. Y'all were here as witnesses.
You're losing the plot here, and you're trying to give up a little bit of how I feel about the series finale. But hold on. So your Uno reverse on 11's death is the sister was alive. She played an illusion. She was able to save 11, and that's why in the illusion you don't see 11's tattoo. Correct?
Meaning 11 is alive.
So again, this is how the Twitter world is right now. You have one side saying 11's dead. You have one side saying that she's alive. So, pero, okay, but again, we're gonna come back to this one. I'm writing stuff down here. I'm gonna circle things
bro.
back.
Hey, you're not respecting our guest here today. I want to hear his thoughts because I'm looking at his face right now, and he's like, "Oh crap, this guy just caught me with his pants down." So let's
Brian,
go, baby.
What are your thoughts on Juan's theory? Which, by the way, Juan, I will mention a theory or two later. I wrote it down here so I don't forget when I speak on how I feel about the series finale. But Brian, how do you feel about every detail that Juan brought in which 11 is still alive?
How did they plan that out in 5 minutes? No. How did it and whatever her name is plan that out in 5 minutes before Hopper walked inside the room? Explain that one.
No, hold on.
No.
Don't be
Explain it.
dismissive now. Don't be dismissive now. Talk. This is the time.
I am. How did they talk about it in 5 minutes? Not even 5 minutes. It must have been seconds. Because
Brian,
left the room,
Brian, I don't.
went back with the med kit, and what? They talked about it like that? Hey, when the C4 explodes,
Oye, como vaya por la puerta, sápame la campana que muerde el parque, ¿no?
Seriously?
Brian.
When the C4 explodes, you prompt something to me, and I disappear. Got it? Okay, got it.
Listen,
Oye, cuando llegue a la puerta, la tipa esta from the terminal is going to be waiting for me. So,
All right. Number one, I like to reveal the surprise that everybody can see behind me. The brothers are not here, Brian. I can't tell you why they did it in 5 minutes and directed it the way they did. All right. So
I'm going to call him right now.
But anyway, seconds passed. Hopper went to go get the med kit, It does not take that long.
But hold on now. But so the point that you're bringing up, as far as whether it took 5 minutes, 3 minutes, or 1 minute, does not dismiss what I said,
I'm
Brian.
gonna bring up.
It
Um,
doesn't
I'm
prove that
I'm gonna
11 is
bring
dead.
up. I'm gonna bring up later another topic about this. By the way,
And then I know Brian earlier mentioned something valid, which that's one point I'm bringing it up because I agree with Brian in that sense. I like, and he said it in a way where, eh, I would like to look for another word, but he said the show got lazy in certain aspects, and I agree on that as well. I think one thing that they did a lot, which was in a sense of getting lazy, I guess, with the storytelling aspect of it, and you could have maybe elaborated on these other things that now we're bringing up and we're discussing here, is like, dude, how many times do you have to shove in our face that the military is after 11? Like, we get it. We get it. Like, don't prolong it. Don't like, you had episodes that took like 30 minutes to 35 minutes of just in the lab showcasing. Yes, we get it. Like, we get it. The military has their weapons. We get it. They're after 11. We get it. So I felt like that and that aspect of things, I think that's where maybe they could have put more detail into other things to make it make sense a little bit more.
so okay, so yeah, you brought up some good points there, but Brian, again, to go back on it, you still believe Eleven's dead. You feel like all the stuff, is
That's
nonsense.
crazy.
All right, let's keep moving. After the whole 11 scene, how else do you feel about the series finale?
Like the
You want
epilogue,
Brian to go first or me?
like the story.
Well, remember Brian had gone first. Look, you keeping, doing the Uno reverse. He mentioned about the Demogorgons. He mentioned that he thinks 11 is dead. He thinks that there's no way that 11 and La Mana was able to coordinate the whole bringing her back. So now remember, we're still in the series finale. So keep talking about how you felt about how the rest of the episode went,
Whenever you
Brian,
want
and
to
then
talk, you
Juan, we're gonna
can.
talk about how you feel.
No,
So so
yeah,
again, So remember, after 11 died, 18 months later,
yeah.
the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
No, no, number one. How did Max graduate? Let's be honest here.
All right,
He was
wait,
with
wait,
Cole
wait,
for
wait,
2
wait,
years.
wait, 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 because you
Wait.
mentioned this. Wait, you mentioned this, and the reason I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Michael Festa texted me, and the first thing
That's
this
too
man
funny.
told me was, "Pablo, how did Max graduate when she was in a coma for two
Yeah.
years?"
Oh, hey,
That
okay.
shit, hey, that shit had me in tears. Because if there's one thing que no le metí cabeza, bro, it really is the fact that Max estaba ahí acostadita for 2 years, woke up, bro. She was in the first line there to
Graduate.
graduate. No,
The classes in her sleeve.
Mike, that was the best thing you ever said, bro. That shit was funny. It still has us laughing. But anyways, continue, Brian. I had to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
So,
Now the whole wrap up at the end was fine. It gave everybody the ending that they wanted to have. Now, do I wish there were certain characters that they dove a little deeper on? Yes. Like Murray, I wish they dove a little bit deeper into him about what he did, and then maybe what happened with Robin's girlfriend, what happened there, if they broke up or just something together. That's what I wish. What?
No, I hear you. I hear you. Like, okay, so
my bad. I just have to close the door because the last thing I want to do is wake up the baby because I know
very
we're gonna
good.
keep getting
So,
excited here. So,
no, I hear you. And all right. As far as the last episode, like I said, I'm a fan of storytelling. I'm a fan of a good cinema, and I again personally, I think, like you just said, we could agree that the ending, the way they closed it out, was perfect.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was cinematic. They closed the door. They left the next generation playing the game. Um, Kind of like how it goes in real life. You get me? That is the point of making something so good that other generations carry it and they continue the process, right? Now, you had mentioned something earlier about casualties, which I had a prediction myself, in which the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I actually agree. So, in a sense, I agree. So, I personally thought, and because at least to me, out of everyone, I guess it made the most sense. And we're talking about the main cast here, right? We're not talking about characters that ended up coming on and about, probably like in season 3, etc. We're talking about the people that have been there the entire time since season 1. I personally thought that Will was gonna die.
Yeah.
I thought Will was the one that was gonna die because he's been the one that has been picked on since season 1. He died at some point, then he came back alive. Now he has powers, And I felt like, again, to get into the conversation of the final episode or the final volume where they fight the big mind flare and kill off Vecna, I thought ultimately the way that the battle was gonna end, it wasn't gonna be with 11 defeating them. I thought it was actually gonna be with like a
Well,
burst of power that Will was gonna explode, and that's it. Like I thought that was gonna be the end of Will, which would have led to make the scene of the 18 months later a little bit more bittersweet between the mom and Hop, because it would have basically in a storytelling sense and in a cinematic way, it would have implied like, okay, she's ready to move on, right? The death happened, she's ready to move on. um so I again, I thought Will was gonna be the one that they chose to basically say their goodbyes to, and it was what it was. But nonetheless, again, we spoke about it a lot on the phone. I think the way they closed it out was basically perfect, beautiful. The ways that they all put their books back on the shelves, showed how their lives moved on, etc. Again, it was signifying that this is the end, right? And a lot of shows, I think, kind of fail in doing such a perfect ending in that sense of like implying like this is the end, right? Like there's a lot of shows that will close out and they leave more doors open than they close. Um, so I think they really left the door closed here, and go. This leads into another point, in which I feel I know Julio's gonna bring up, but we're already having the conversation, so might as well throw it in already. In the sense of like, there's people out there that have a prediction that they think that there's, and again, look, I'm gonna label these people the Bryans, right? The ones that are disappointed with the ending, the ones that want more, the ones that want more explanation, the ones that think there should be another season, another episode, X, Y, and Z. You get the point. But again, this is what shows the prestige of this show, of how good it is. And the reason why it should not go to a rollover season. The reason why they shouldn't produce another episode. Because this is going to be a show that's generational. This is a show that our kids at some point, which Julio already has one, but he's still a baby, at some point you're going to sit with your kid, or your kid is even going to bring it up to you and be like, hey, what is this show? Like, that's going to be their Harry Potter. That's gonna be
Yeah,
that
like
type of deal.
I, I mean, of course, I'm gonna want to watch the show with my kid, but to be honest, like, this is a show that I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Like, maybe come next year, October, when I'm home and there's nothing to watch, and I want to feel like I want to be in tune with the season. This is actually a show that I have no issues whatsoever putting it on the TV and just rewatching the whole show tranquilito, an episode at a time. Remember things. Rewatch the show. Because again, I guess this is the part where I'm gonna jump in and speak. And Brian, before I continue, you brought up all the key points you find the issue with the series finale, correct?
yeah.
So I'm gonna go on and say pretty much that I believe that the way the show ended was pure cinema. The way, so just like you, Brian, after I watched it the first time, I kind of had my doubts. I kind of told myself, Coño, am I kind of forcing myself to like the series finale? Am I kind of overlooking things because I really want to like it? And then after going on Twitter, seeing a couple things, reading a couple things, I rewatched the last episode again, and to be honest with you, like, the brothers did that episode so well that it has people trying to figure out Morse codes, that it has people trying to figure out if there's any hidden messages in the end credits. There's people that are trying to see every poster in every room and every scene, and they're trying to kind of decipher the whole thing to see what was the true intentions. But that's the thing, the directors, the brothers, left it where everyone can interpret it in a different way. What I feel that people are suffering now is they're having a trouble of letting go of a really good show. Because unfortunately, we are in a generation que todo mundo está mal criado. Everybody likes to get what they feel like they deserve and they need, and people don't want the show to end. But guess what? I'm a strong believer now that after a while, certain shows, as long as they have a good ending, I don't mind it. Because again, I've seen shows that ended terribly, like Game of Thrones. At one point, I felt like Game of Thrones was the best show in the world, but after how they ended the show, I don't even have Game of Thrones in my top three. You know, and then you have shows like The Walking Dead and The 100 that after seasons and seasons and episodes and dragging and spin-offs, it got to a point where like, no, dude, like at this point you were just in it for the money and you were just leading on the fan base that can continue watching crap pretty much on TV. The brothers at the end of the day did beautifully, beautifully. And now I want to discuss some of the things you brought up, Brian. You mentioned where were the Demogorgons, where were the bats, where was all this other stuff. I'm gonna rewind you now and take you back to season 3. In season 3, when the Mind Flayer went into the real world, in order for him to become a creature, what did he have to do, Brian?
He
He
had to
had
eat
to
animals.
consume animals.
Yeah, he had to eat animals.
So what if Vecna said, you know what, since I'm gonna be plotting my last final, hoorah, what if he consumed all the Demogorgons, the Demagogues, the bats, or whatnot, and made that spider ugly looking Mind Flayer thing? And then that's why you don't see it. That's theory number 1. Theory number 2 is they're saying that Vecna wasn't expecting an attack in his home base. I feel like that one's a bit more of a stretch, especially that in season 3 we do see it. The Mind Flayer has to consume animals to become that ugly looking creature thing that we all saw in the Starcourt Mall. So I want to go based off of that theory. Again, the brothers are going to leave that to your interpretation. It's not plot holes. They've always said it that everything that in the show, you can put it together from things they've either shown you or things that you've seen. So I'll leave that to there. When it comes to 11, all right. So when it comes to 11, it's very interesting because if you go back to volume 2, her sister the whole time was telling her, "Oye, in order for this to end, we have to kill ourselves, esto y lo otro." Series finale starts, we all see what happens with Hopper and 11. She thinks that Vecna infiltrated his mind. And then based on what Hopper told 11, the sister kind of changed her mindset. Like, you know what? Like, this guy has his heart and his mind in the right place for 11. When that whole scene happened, que la hermana vio que Hopper did go back for her, that piece of shit guy with the gun or whatever. So theory number 1, what if she made an illusion? Like if she got shot? What if she didn't get shot? What if she actually escaped with 11 and she was following 11 the whole time until they're able to plan their great escape together? That's theory number 1. Because at the end of the day, like everything, when you hear the shot go off, you never see her get clearly shot. You just assume she got shot because she was there on the floor bleeding or whatever. En lo que Hopper se fue a buscar la bolsa and came back, yeah, 11 stood up, no, yeah, she's dead. So what if in that time, she entered her mind, kind of like when she tried to find Max in season 4, they spoke in that world and be like, oye, hazte la que estás muerta aquí or whatever. And then when shit, goes to shit, we're going to escape together. Claro, everyone thinks that she's dead because they left it like that. Because what if when they escape, 11 goes, oye, I'm going to go this way, you go that way. Best of luck to you. Make sure we never get caught. Okay, I see a hand up. Juan. What's your hand?
All right. So I'm gonna keep it there where you're at, though. I'm not gonna get ahead of myself or nothing. But I think to elaborate a little bit more on that theory that you're talking on, and I guess from my perspective and probably many more, what confirms the sister dying is the fact that when she's on the ground, there is real blood coming out of her, and there's also blood on 11. So there's physical proof of her dying compared to if we take it a step further in the same episode when Hopper loses his mind because Vecna infiltrates and he shoots the illusion of what shows 11 being shot. I don't know how many times, but in reality, he didn't shoot 11. What he shot was the tank, and he fell for Vecna's plan, which was to get 11 out of the tank so that it could give him more time to get to the kids, etc.
All right. So again, I'm saying in the sense that maybe 11 is not the only one that won out of this. But then I know I mentioned to Juan, if you go back into the episode and you see her arm is visibly shaking. You don't see the tattoo 11 on there. And when it happens that when the speakers are hitting 11, she's not curled up into a ball. She's not bleeding. She's there chilling like there's nothing being aimed at her. So kind of like how the kid said in the beginning, I do truly believe that 11 is alive. And then a lot of people are saying, oh, but you know, in the last scene, 11 has two waterfalls. Incorrect. If you rewatch the scene, as she's walking, there's one waterfall next to her, and there's two in front of her. Again, the brothers do a really, really good job with this. Like, again, they flew the actress to Iceland just to shoot that 5 second scene, which is, again, insane. Um, so that's how I feel about that. When it comes to Murray, Brian, Murray, at the end of the day, he was always a guy against the government, conspiracy theories, the Russians. If there's anyone that got a happy ending, is Murray, because think about it. He was able to take down the Russians. He was able to close down the lab, and he was able to give the last FU, because when he blew up the Upside Down world, you know it was in the Upside Down world, right? The government base that had all the pregnant women.
Yeah.
So it was like the last big FU, and then in the graduation, guess what? He's a reporter. Chances are he's a reporter that's always going to be a conspiracy theorist. So I feel like he's one of the more better characters. He was always funny, era un loco. He was kind of like all over the place against the government, other activities or whatnot. Um, so I feel like his character had a good ending, and then the casualties. The one thing I will say again, I feel like people's like hype for the show kind of grew a little bit out of proportion because of Twitter, because of everybody's theories, everyone's thoughts on how the show was gonna end or was gonna go on. Granted, no one died, but is that necessarily a bad thing? If you kind of think about it, let's go back to the origins, the roots of the show, and I know I've talked to both of you about it. It's Dungeons and Dragons. In Dungeons and Dragons, when you start off in those campaigns, you're a level 1, whatever character you decide to do. You roll the dice, you travel through the campaign, you get stronger, you meet people along the way that help you. Sometimes those people die, sometimes those people only last a season. Which in this case, we can pretty much agree. In every season, someone came in, helped in some way, and died.
Yeah.
In season 1, as maybe as small and as not as significant as it may be, Barb dying kind of started the character arc for Nancy Wheeler becoming a badass, becoming a reporter, finding out what happened with Henry, making sure that the family got repercussions for when Barb died. Cool. Season 2, help me out here. I always forget for whatever reason who
Bob.
died in season 2. Bob. Bob came in, kind of helped Joyce pick up the pieces after what happened in season 1, and it kind of reignited that fire because at the end of the day, Bob did sacrifice his life to save hers. So cool. Season 3, I believe in season 3 we had multiple deaths.
I believe we did. Let me double check.
I know at one point Billy died. Billy's whole character arc. He was a puppet again of the Mind Flayer. You then at some point had the little Russian who ended up helping these guys out. He ended up dying. There are also some characters that didn't die, but they did help out. You have the dude from California that drove the little pizza van all the way to the middle of the desert to go find 11. You had the Russian that helped Jim come back to the States. So you did have characters that didn't have to die, but some did die. And then again, we're gamers. We all know that there are certain times when we're playing a story mode game, there'll be a character that comes out of nowhere and is guiding you and either turns heel or dies, but they already served their purpose. They helped you, which is for the main character to complete their mission. And I feel like this is the perfect example of that. Like at the end of the day, the main characters, each of them in the beginning were terrified of the Upside Down world. They were, the whole theory that Will wasn't dead, the Demogorgon, all this other stuff. And then going back to what you said, Brian, about the final fight, what happened is that the characters, they grew up in level, they weren't afraid of the Upside Down world, and they just wanted to defeat the boss and get revenge for all the pain and suffering that they went through. Which again, Twitter also talks about how they're not a fan of Joyce giving the final blow to Vecna. But I know I spoke about it with Juan. With every blow that she gave, it showed a flashback of how each character went through some shit because of Vecna. And at the end of the day, it was kind of like divine justice, porque la primera que sufrió con todo esto fue ella.
Mm.
Like this lady fucking lost her job, destroyed her house, put Christmas lights in the middle of freaking November, because she honestly thought that everyone thought she was crazy. So I think it was like divine justice. Could it have been maybe a bit more epic? Maybe, but I'm satisfied with the way it happened. Everybody played a role. And Lucas with the slingshot, Mike with the flare guns, Nancy with the gun, these guys with the flamethrowers. Then you have Dustin and freaking Steve doing God knows what, stabbing the dude in the bottom, which probably didn't do anything. Like, I feel like it kind of shows a story mode game in the sense in the beginning, everyone's scared. A level one doesn't know how to attack a Demogorgon, has no idea what to do. But then towards the end, everybody's like, yo, bro, like, I don't fear anymore. Like, at this point, I want to get this over with. So I kind of feel like it goes back to the truth of Dungeons and Dragons. Again, maybe I'm seeing it that way because I'm a gamer or because I want to believe that the series finale ended perfectly. But to be honest, I do believe that it was pure cinema. At the end of the day, I know that the Twitter world is going to be divided in half. I know that chances are, if this video does blow up, people are going to be putting in the comments their plot holes, their ideas, you know,
Which is what we want.
which is what we want. But at the end of the day, like, what you have to really consider is the show ended perfectly. The last scene really did get to me because it's kind of like what Juan said. We saw these kids grow up in the show, and them saying goodbye to the show is not just them saying goodbye to the show. It's also us saying goodbye to a good show. Because for what it's worth, Stranger Things was an excellent show. It always kept you on your toes with the Upside Down world, the Demogorgon, what's gonna happen, que si fulano, que si mengano, Vecna, Mind Flayer, you know. It always kept you wanting, like, oh my god. And I feel like that hunger for more and more and more, and not to be like, coño, it ended. But look at the way it ended. It kind of ended like how things end in real life. Like, they grew up, it's time to move on, and they passed the throne to the next generation, which is Holly and her friends. So, all in all, I think the show, is good. At the end of the day, are there gonna be plot holes, Brian? Correct. Are we ever gonna get answers? Probably not, because the brothers said it very specific. We're gonna leave it to your interpretation. And the whole thing with 11, I feel like the way it was filmed that way for two reasons. One, everyone's gonna interpret it differently. Either she's dead, she's alive, whatever. And number two, they leave it like that because, kind of like what I told Juan, if in the future un día el hermano se levanta con una idea, bro, what about this? And that idea leads to another idea and another idea, and then 5, 10 years from now, we get to revisit Stranger Things and get maybe a more elaborate ending to the show, but it has us like material. I'll be okay with it. But I also wouldn't mind the break from Stranger Things because it gives them more of time to think creatively of something like this. Now, one thing that did confirm is we are gonna get a spin-off show. It's gonna be not in Hawkins, not on the Upside Down world, not with the main characters, but they're still gonna give us something of a lore. They said it's gonna feel like Stranger Things, but it's not Stranger Things. So hopefully that kind of comforts people. We do get an animated, I think, movie. They're gonna talk about a story that happened between seasons 2 and 3 with the cast, but it's gonna be an animated, series like version of it. They say it's really good. We're looking forward to it whenever it drops. And again, that's my analysis. I know I took a little chunk of time, but I did say I was gonna wait till the end because again, I really have done a deep dive and breakdown of the series finale, added it with the whole show, what the premise of the show is, how it ties in Dungeons and Dragons. It throws in a lot of lore, a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of references. And I feel like that's another reason why people love the show. It was because it connected with a lot of things. Because the brothers made the show on a lot of things that inspired them to become directors, to become creative as they did. So it's really cool to see. And again, I'm like a lot of people, bro. I'm sad that it ended, and it is what it is. I know Juan is sad, bro, and I know Brian's more upset because he still thinks the series finale is ass. But I mean, at the end of the day,
Not
it
the
is what it is.
finale. The last episode is ass. The season
The
itself.
finale, the finale, and not the last season.
The last
And then-
episode. The last
and then-
episode. Everything else is okay.
And again, do I believe that the second to last episode was bad? Yes, when you compare it to the second to last episode of season 4. When it was the crew coming up with the plan of how they're going to attack Vecna, these people went to his house, these people were going to go to the Upside Down world, Eddie and Dustin doing recon, like, they had like this whole setup, the music, it felt like, oh man, we're about to go into war. This one, how did we set up to go to war? By spending 6 minutes of Will hearing how he likes milkshakes, comic books, but doesn't like girls. No, brother, like, there's a time and place for everything, and I feel like that portion of the episode, had it happened in the middle, and you would have done episode 7, kind of how you did the second to last episode of season 4, with the music, everybody gearing up with gear, getting ready for like the final boss fight. I think the episode would have ended better. So I don't necessarily mind what happened in that episode. I just believe that the timing and the where they put it in that episode, I think affected it. Because I don't think it should have ended in that note. It should have ended more in the note of, all right, like, we're seeing the gang get ready one last time. All we got was todo el mundo lo metieron un van de lado. Y dale, they went to the portal, we're going to go fight Vecna. And it's like, that's where I told you, Brian, I give it to. Maybe that's where it went a tad bit lazy. But the finale was still beauty. It was still a great show. I'm going to miss Stranger Things. I probably will rewatch it. I will definitely watch it with my son when he comes of age. But that was my take on it. So, is there anything else you want to discuss, Brian or Juan, that maybe you guys want to throw in there? Wasn't mentioned? Thoughts, concerns, futures? What, Juan? I already see you. Yeah.
There's one thing. Is that how the Will's power and the hive mind, they don't behave consistently, in my opinion.
They what?
In what
Like,
sense?
okay, so like Will is linked with the mind flare, and he can feel the pain in the earlier seasons, right? But like in the finale, you know how so it dies and everything, but like he doesn't get affected by that whatsoever. It's like another thing
Oh,
that I
I
feel
guess
like
what
they
you're
let out.
saying is like since he was one.
He was connected with Vecna
Yeah,
and the mind flare. He doesn't
yeah,
get
like-
affected by anything.
Yeah,
That's-
that's interesting.
I
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
that's a
I
plot
give
hole
it
that
to you.
was
Yeah.
not explored.
And again, the show does have certain plot holes and certain things that maybe we wish they could have gone into more detail. Again, the theory of the Demogorgons and everything combined to become the Mind Flare, I would have loved to have seen them confirm it. But we're never going to get that at this point because, yeah, the show ended, which I know I brought up to Juan. Everybody on Twitter believes that Netflix is playing a prank on us. And I want you guys to hear this theory, and I want you guys to tell me how you feel about it. So, in the end credits, when the show ends, they show a poster of Stranger Things, right? Like if it was a campaign of Dungeons and Dragons. And right next to it, there's a dice that says 7, right? We got the show, 31st / the 1st. Apparently, Will's mom, Joyce, she went crazy for 6 days until they found out that Will was actually alive. So 6 + 1 = 7. The commercial that Netflix dropped, which is going to show that on January 7th, they're going to announce, things to come this year, aka shows, or in this case, a hidden episode. So now on Twitter, people are strongly believing that on January 7th, Netflix is either going to announce another season of Stranger Things, another episode of Stranger Things, or what the latter wishes not to get, a spin-off of the show. What do you guys feel about about that one theory?
Now, an extra season, I feel there's no point of it. But they should do an episode. Maybe like a 30-minute little episode. I wouldn't mind it. I don't think
Brian
anybody.
wants closure. Brian wants closure.
Brian,
I don't think anybody here would
Brian,
mind it.
Brian wants Mike to disappear from the world and go hide in a cabin with 11 forever and go make little power babies over there in
What?
Iceland.
But it will wrap up everything. But I wouldn't mind it. Like a little 30-minute little episode. And I don't think it would hurt anybody. Now, a
What
whole
do you
new
think about the
season,
theory?
there's no point.
Which theory are we asking? Brian's or the one you mentioned?
The one that I mentioned, Brian's again. Brian is the same way Twitter is right now. Twitter wants more.
Okay, so on your theory and with everything you mentioned, the way I feel about it is basically, I think I'll give you two sides of it. My side is gonna be quicker than the side I'm explaining from you. My side is basically I'm gonna stand firm on what I said. I don't think there has to be anything more made. Again, I agree with how they closed the show. I agreed with the way it ended. And whether I disagreed or agreed, I could have had Brian's perspective on it. Just overall looking at it from a cinematic and storytelling standpoint, they did such a great job. And I'm going to elaborate just a little bit more on that to what Julio was mentioning as far as like everybody started to feel like how they started taking us sort of like on a roller coaster, right? Like it all started slow, fast, then we went up, then we went sideways, then we went down, etc., right? Again, not to bring my nerd side out of here, but I do have a nerd side kind of deal for like storytelling and writing. I like to write myself, as a matter of fact. But go back to what we learned when we were back in middle school, right? The story mountain. It has a beginning and exposition. It has a rising action, a climax, and a falling action, right? I feel like season three wasn't even just the climax yet. Like I feel like that was still part of the rising action, where they were still taking us slowly up to take us to where they were planning on taking us. I feel like season four was more of the climax, and it was a long climax. Actually, it was a point where they expanded on it, and like you said, they went fast. And even the ending, you feel like it was better than in a sense of like cinematic wise and visual wise and the way they came about it compared to the last season. And then that's it. How is a falling action? How is it when you close a book? Exactly the way they did it. They slowed it down. They started narrating how everything was gonna plan out and how everything was gonna play out once this world finally ended. Whether we agree the way it did or not, it ended point blank. So again, it showcases more credit and more to what the brothers did here and the excellent job honestly that they did on this show. Like there's no like again, if you look at it from a storytelling standpoint and a cinematic standpoint, honestly, it's a 10 out of 10. Like, put the opinions to the side, put the perspectives to the side. Again, related to a video game, what makes a video game so good? And we could sit here and talk about a couple video games that we all have that we've all fallen in love with as we've grown up, etc. They all have a story to it. They all have something that gravitates us. They take us on this journey in a world that doesn't exist. And then how does it end? It ends, right? Whether it has multiple parts or not, it ends. There is an ending in all these video games that we would sit here and talk about. So that's that perspective. And to go kind of to what Brian was mentioning, and to not get too far of what he was mentioning, again, I don't think there's any need of continuation. And if there is a continuation, I think it's gonna take. It's not. No one is gonna be able to predict the time of of when this happens, because that's what the brothers do. They don't reveal their hand. They don't show anybody their script until it displays in front of everybody's TV and everybody's sitting at home and watching the show, right? So if there is any sort of spin-off or if there is any sort of extension that off this dice that you caught on or that other people on Twitter caught on to, and it implies, I don't know, maybe a 7 episode or maybe even a season 7, um, it's gonna happen on their time, and nobody knows when their time is.
Bueno, going back to the whole dice thing, if we go back to season one, um, Will asks Mike, "Hey, did I roll a 7? Did the Demogorgon get me?" And I feel like the dice having the 7 goes back more to season one. And again, guys, the reason I know is because I've done a whole ass deep dive on this. And one thing I did forget to mention earlier, Brian, when the whole thing with 11. Do you remember everyone's favorite new character, Delightful Derek, or Dipshit Derek?
My guy.
In the scene when they're in the back of the van, and Mike is clearly smiling at 11, he kind of gives like an awkward wave to Mike smiling, and Mike's like, yeah, okay, do whatever. People are saying that because 11 can only be seen by her friends. She can't be seen by people who don't know who 11 is. So again, it leads more into the lore of 11 is alive, and it, after I saw it on Twitter and I went back and I saw that one clip, and it's true. You have 11 touching Mike. Mike está con una cara cumpleaños. I got my girl back. We saved the world. This and that. And you have out of nowhere Dipstick Derek.
Suck my fat one.
It's like, what the hell is this? Okay, yeah, do whatever, cool. But why does he do that? Because Derek thinks that Mike's smiling at him. Derek can't see 11. So again, bro, there's so many things where it's like, that's why, and the whole thing of people going on this breakdown on Twitter and you seeing it again and reading all this makes you, that's when you know, se la comieron, bro. Like this, again, top 3 shows of all time for me. It probably knocked Game of Thrones out of the list, because if y'all watch Game of Thrones probably the best show up until the last season. And the last season is just, and throw everything away at that point. So, but with everything said, again, the Twitter rolls split in half. I think the show was good. Juan thinks, it was excellent. Brian, I think Brian needs to watch it a third time, Juan. I
Brian,
think Brian
Third
needs to
time?
watch it a third.
Brian is hurt. That's what it is, man. He just
Brian's feelings are hurt, bro. Brian
he's hurt.
is from this new generation.
No, and
His
then
feelings was hurt.
before before we close off, I also had like I guess visual or like theories as well, like honestly, of the way that it was gonna end as far as the battle scene. At one point, I thought it was gonna be the three of them fighting Vecna. I thought it was gonna be Will, the sister, and 11. Like I
Hmm.
thought that's why I guess the sister came back into the picture. Because again, it just made sense. There was gonna be more power overall with the three of them to take this thing down. So that was one of my theories as well. And I already told you obviously the other one earlier in the recording when we spoke about it, where I mentioned that I thought Will was just gonna have an outburst of power. Like I thought this guy was gonna turn into like the underground super world. I mean Superman. I'm sorry. I thought that's what he was gonna. Superman. I thought that's what he was gonna become, and he was gonna kill the thing or whatever. But yeah,
But I mean, again, dude. Overall, it was a great show. I definitely will miss looking into when we're gonna get a new Stranger Things episode. Um, the one I guess theory I wish Twitter would have been right on is I would have not mind Eddie coming back as like the vampire lord. And when I saw there was no vampires throughout any of the episodes, I'm like, bro, maybe this guy does come back and just sends a wave of the bats at this dude. But no, that was not the case. And I know Eddie was probably one of my favorite characters that did die, but I think that's everybody in the world. Especially his last scene with the guitar will forever be epic in my opinion. And I will say this though, I do believe that Stranger Things' best season was season four. I think season four was pure epicness from beginning to end. The whole build up, the whole thing with Vecna opening the portals, the way it ended, I do believe season four was great. It started a bit slow, but it ended with a bang. But season five wasn't bad. It was a closure. I think a lot of us just need to accept, Brian, and the other half of the Twitter world. But at the end of the day, hey, look, listen. That's why we have to do a special episode. So for those of you who watch this episode, let us know in the comments. Did you like the series finale? Did you not like it? What you did not like? What were the plot holes you feel like were missing? What were some information? What is it that you want? What is it you need from them for this show to be complete in your eyes? Please let us know. Share it with us because again, where right now I'm sharing you guys how the world is right now. They're split in half. So, anything else you guys want to add on before we conclude this episode? Or, come on, Juan, you've been having Uno cards and all sorts of things all this whole time, dog. What's up?
I have one last one.
Here we go.
Isn't it ironic that just how the show closed in a universe of three parts, right now we're live on three different screens? Come
Wow.
on, Dad. Come
Wow,
on.
is J&J's next play onto something?
Maybe, who knows? But Brian, I'm just letting you know, it's okay, and we're here for you. And it's okay if I still see you in the comments trying to bring your points to life. It's all
You
right.
want to see my different accounts commenting on it?
This guy's gonna make this video the most disliked video just to prove a point on purpose, dog.
I'm not gonna dislike the video. I'm just gonna put comments on it.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. After us talking about the whole thing with Helldivers, kind of makes me just want to go back to the game once,
Play the
relive that
song.
moment,
Play
and
the
then be
song.
like, get out of here. But nah, I mean, hey, look, listen, it is what it is, man. Now we just gotta find a new show out there to hopefully, again, they do have an animated. I think it's a movie, an animated movie that talks about a story that happened between season two and three. And then there is a spin-off show, but we don't know what the spin-off show is going to be about. What's the whole purpose of the spin-off show? We don't know anything. So you never know. I have seen shows come back from the dead, and they do come back strong. Like Breaking Bad, then had Better Call Saul. Game of Thrones, for as bad as it ended, now has House of Dragons. I believe with some time and was giving the brothers some space to try to connect the dots and how they go about things. Maybe we'll see this. But I do tell you this: we're not gonna get nothing at least added on to us for another 5, 10 years, if that. So, But with that being said, this concludes the first episode of J&J's Next Play for the year. We're finally back, baby. The holidays are over. No more vacation. Juan did give a little sneak peek earlier when he threw a line in there about some things we got to talk about on an adventure that we went on during the Christmas break. We have a lot of topics to talk about, and I just want to throw this out there. Okay, I saw it on Twitter. It was on my phone right now. So it said, don't quote me on this because I'm reading the meme. It took Will 6 minutes and 51 seconds to come out to the crew about his him not liking girls. It took Trump 6 minutes and 31 seconds to go to Venezuela and capture Nicolas Maduro.
This guy's stupid. Bro. This guy's stupid, bro.
Bro, yo, I can't make this shit up. No, I love Twitter, bro.
Trump is also out there just doing side quests at this point, bro.
Bro, hey, bro, look. I respect Trump because he tried him. He called him a coward, bro. He said, come here. You won't. Trump said, bet. But look. I love Twitter, but all right, fellas. If you have nothing else to say, I think we should end the episode here. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, share in the comments how you felt about the series finale. I'm also going to be dropping a poll, and I'm going to be asking a simple question. Did you like the way the show ended? Yes or no? And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Juan, special guest Brian. Brian, we'll definitely have you back because there are a lot of times where I do see that you're en la contra, and I think that's what the show needs every now and then, someone being a la contra, and you're genuine about it. You genuinely told me on the phone, yo, this finale was ass, I give it a 4 out of 10. So imagine, when I finally had to sit down and watch, I'm like, yo, el tipo este dijo que era tremenda mierda, and I'm like, damn, this didn't suck, so we'll probably have you definitely again in future episodes. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, till next time, peace.